Nyanga. Good evening. Thanks very much for coming through. Zizipo, how different are you from everything that we have seen and heard of?
We're different because we go to the places where normally commercial banks don't want to go. So we deal particularly with remote areas where people are sometimes forced to migrate from rural areas to come to big cities like Joburg to look for work. So we're trying to create jobs in those areas and also create entrepreneurs through use of land, for example, in the agribusiness space where we find farmers and develop them into the value chain. And also in small towns, there's a lot of increase in franchises that are being opened in the small convenience centers. So we provide funding to franchisees, usually that they have a challenge with unencumbered cash requirements from the franchisors. We also find a lot of businesses in the supply chain space where people have contracts, but they can't fulfill those contracts because they don't have money to fund them.
But how big is this fund? I mean, how much money do you have? How big is your team? Because remember, we have a big, vast country, and rural areas in particular aren't easy to penetrate.
That is true. Our fund is a 1 billion fund, and we are present in 6 offices throughout the country, in the Eastern Cape, Limpopo, KZN, Gauteng, and the Western Cape. But we operate throughout the country. It's just that our presence is in these 6 provinces.
Do you have what? Lower barriers to entry? Are you charging far less interest or no interest? In other words, what exactly is different?
So what usually happens is that the entrepreneurs don't have owner's contribution. So we are different in such that we're able to structure the deals together with our strategic partners where we source grant funding for some of our clients in order to make sure that the debt-to-equity ratio is improved. And we also source a lot of non-financial support from our own resources where we support businesses where we found that there are gaps, for example, in the growth of the business or marketing or technical skills. So there's a lot of effort that we place in ensuring that we don't just give the money to the clients, but we also offer a lot of business support to ensure that throughout the journey, the entrepreneur is successful.
For how long have you been in existence now?
We have been in existence since 2007.
And how many people have you helped?
Since 2007, we've funded above 200 enterprises, but in addition to that, we've also funded over 40,000 micro-enterprises. You will know that in the rural areas, for example, people survive by just selling fruit on the side of the road or selling and having small micro businesses. So we pride ourselves that we've made a difference and we're able to put food on the table through entrepreneurship development.
Now, what sort of people have you been able to really help who haven't been helped by anybody, perhaps, before? Just so as to give our viewers an idea of, your ideal customer.
Yeah, so in the agriculture space, for example, a lot of people in rural areas and small towns and townships have land, but they don't necessarily do anything with that land. So we funded emerging farmers in the KZN and Eastern Cape province, where we've invested over 100 million throughout the years. And
so small farmers, one group.
Small farmers. And then in the franchise space, we funded a lot of entrepreneurs that have fuel stations, the different kinds of fuel stations that have the food retail franchises, because you have to eat every day. So those are some of the successful franchises that we've funded, and we've seen that the unencumbered cash is a challenge. So we structured the deals accordingly. And then in the supply chain and manufacturing space, we've funded a lot of people that have contracts with government, but they don't have the means to fulfill those contracts. Then in the manufacturing space, we've funded various manufacturing entities, one in the Eastern Cape that manufactures timber products, supplying the likes of Build It and Cash Build and others. We've also funded agro-processing deals where they process fruit and export to other countries.
How do people get hold of you?
We are on our website, www.masisizane.co.za.
Okay, that's where we're going to leave it. Thanks very much for coming through. The CEO of Old Mutual's Masisizane Fund, Zizipho Nyanga.